I never thought the day would come when my own grandkids would look me in the eyes and beg me to tell the truth about something I had buried deep inside me for decades, something I swore I would take to my grave. But there I was, standing in my living room, my hands shaking, my throat tightening, as they repeated the same question I had spent half my life avoiding. "Grandpa, why did you really cut ties with your brother?" It felt like the walls were closing in, like every secret, every lie, every half-truth was suddenly pressing down on me at once. And the worst part, I knew that once I opened that door, there would be no going back. So here I am now, telling this story not just to them, but to all of you who might judge me, hate me, sympathize with me, or maybe even understand me in a way no one else ever did. Was I wrong for what I hid? Tell me honestly, because sometimes I still don't know. The truth is, this story didn't start with the moment my grandkids confronted me. It started long before that, when I was young, impulsive, and painfully naive. My brother, Daniel, was 2 years older than me. Growing up, we were inseparable. Wherever he went, I followed. Whatever trouble he got into, I somehow ended up blamed for. My parents adored him. To them, Daniel could do no wrong, while I was the one they constantly lectured, scolded, and compared. You'd think that kind of upbringing would make me resent him, but it didn't, not at first. I admired him. I envied how effortlessly he moved through the world while I struggled to find my place. But admiration has a strange way of turning into something else when betrayal enters the picture. Back in the early 70s, when I was in my early 20s and Daniel was already married, life seemed simple. I had a job at a small automotive shop, greasy hands every day, steady paycheck, nothing glamorous. Daniel, on the other hand, had the charm, the ambition, and the guts to chase after bigger opportunities. He floated from business idea to business idea like a leaf in the wind. Real estate, restaurant partnerships, selling cars on the side. You name it, he tried it. And every time he tried something new, he came to me and said the same thing. "Come on, little brother, trust me. This one is big." But after what happened the first time, trust was the one thing I no longer had. I still remember the smell of that tiny apartment I was living in back then, the peeling wallpaper, the hum of the old refrigerator, the tiny wooden table where Daniel sat telling me about his newest venture. He said he needed a small loan, nothing serious. He claimed, just a small safety net. I had been saving up for years to buy my own place, and I foolishly thought helping him might bring us closer. So I gave him almost everything I had, and he swore he'd pay me back within a month. You can guess what happened next. Not only did his venture fail, but he completely disappeared for almost a year. When he finally resurfaced, he acted like nothing happened. No apology, no explanation, not even acknowledgement. I was furious, but somewhere deep inside, I still made excuses for him. That's what brothers do, right? They forgive, they let things go. They hold on to the hope that people can change. But Daniel didn't change. If anything, he got worse. A few years later, after he had burned bridges with half the family and most of his old friends, he returned again, asking for another favor. This time it wasn't money. It was something far more serious. He wanted me to lie for him. He wanted me to say I'd been with him on the night a certain incident happened, something involving police, property damage, and a bar he owed money to. He looked desperate, cornered, terrified. And against my better judgment, I said yes. I gave him an alibi, and that was the beginning of the darkest chapter of my life. What I didn't know at the time was that my lie didn't just protect him. It hurt someone else, someone innocent, someone who ended up being blamed for what Daniel did. I didn't find out until years later, long after the damage had been done. When the truth finally came out, the guilt hit me like a truck. I confronted Daniel, and he actually shrugged, and said, "I did what I had to do." Hearing those words broke something inside me, something I never repaired. I cut ties with him after that. Blocked him, stopped visiting, stopped answering calls, stopped pretending he was still the brother I used to idolize. My parents were furious. They accused me of abandoning him when he needed family. They didn't understand that the person he needed wasn't me. It was accountability, something he had never faced in his life. But instead of seeing the truth, they blamed me. That blame created a rift that never healed. And that rift became the secret I carried into adulthood, into marriage, into fatherhood, and eventually into becoming a grandfather. For decades, I chose silence. Not because I was protecting him, but because I was ashamed. Ashamed of the choices I made, ashamed of the lies I told, ashamed of the innocent person who suffered because of my cowardice. The story was too painful, too complicated, too heavy to tell, so I buried it. Every time someone asked why Daniel and I didn't speak, I used the same line, "We just grew apart." I thought that lie was harmless, but lies, even small ones, have a way of growing sharp edges. Everything blew up the day my grandkids, ages 13 and 17, came running into my room with their phones in hand. They found old family photos online, pictures of me and Daniel smiling like nothing bad ever happened. They noticed comments, old posts, relatives mentioning the big fight that tore the family apart. And because those two kids adore me more than anyone in the world, they confronted me. "Grandpa, what happened? Why won't anyone tell us the truth? Why does everyone avoid the topic?" Their little faces were filled with confusion, frustration, and something that genuinely scared me, hurt. Hurt because they felt left out of a story that shaped our entire family. I could have lied again. I could have dodged their questions. But looking at them, I realized something. Silence wasn't protecting them. It was confusing them. It was pushing them into the same cycle of secrecy I had spent my whole life trapped in. So that's the situation I found myself in, shaking hands, pounding heart, about to unravel a lifetime of guilt. And before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a moment and think. If you were me, would you have told them everything? Or would you have kept the secret buried forever? Comment below and let me know, because this is where the story gets complicated. After they begged me again, I took a deep breath and told them to sit down. And then, for the first time in more than 40 years, I told the whole truth. I told them about the money. I told them about the lies. I told them about the legal trouble. I told them about the innocent man who took the fall for Daniel's actions. And I told them, my voice shaking, how I helped cover for my brother, how I was complicit, how my silence ruined someone else's life. I expected them to be angry, disappointed, even disgusted, but instead their reactions shocked me. My youngest grandkid, the 13-year-old, grabbed my hand and whispered, "Grandpa, that must have been so hard for you." And the older one, who is usually more vocal and emotional, looked at me with tears in their eyes and said, "Why did you deal with all of this alone? Why didn't anyone help you?" That's when I broke. Decades of bottled-up guilt finally spilled over. I cried harder than I had cried in my entire adult life. I wasn't expecting forgiveness. I wasn't expecting comfort. But those kids, those amazing kids, gave me something I never got from anyone else in my family, understanding. But here's the thing, telling them was only the beginning. Because after I finished, they asked the one question I had dreaded for years: does Mom know? Their mother, my daughter, had always believed the version of events told by my parents. that I abandoned my brother out of selfishness, that I was stubborn, unforgiving, difficult. For years she blamed me. She never said it outright, but I could feel it in every awkward silence, every tight smile at family events, every time she changed the subject when Daniel's name came up. And now my grandkids wanted me to tell her the truth too. Part of me wanted to say no. Part of me wanted to stay quiet. Part of me feared what she would think of me. But the look on my grandkids' faces convinced me otherwise. They wanted the cycle to end. They wanted honesty. And maybe, deep down, I wanted closure too. So, that evening, when my daughter came over to pick them up, they practically dragged her into the living room. "Mom, Grandpa needs to tell you something." She looked at me with confusion, then with concern when she saw my red eyes and trembling hands. And before I could even gather my thoughts, my grandkids said, "We know why you stopped talking to Uncle Daniel. Grandpa told us everything. Now he needs to tell you." I felt the room shrink. I felt old, small, weak, but I also felt something else resolve. So I told her every detail, every sin, every moment of cowardice, and I fully expected her to walk out, angry and disappointed. But she didn't. Instead, she sat down next to me, silent at first, absorbing everything. And when I finished, she let out a long breath and said, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. They never told me the truth. They made you look like the villain." Hearing those words made my chest ache, because for so many years I was convinced she hated me deep down. But she didn't. She just didn't know. The aftermath of that confession changed everything. My daughter became more affectionate, more patient, more understanding. My grandkids told me they were proud of me for finally telling the truth. And me, I finally slept through the night without waking up drenched in guilt. It felt like a weight I'd been dragging for half a century had finally lifted. But there was one more thing I had to do, something I had avoided for too long. I reached out to the man who took the fall for Daniel. He was elderly now, living quietly, long retired. I apologized. I didn't expect forgiveness, but he gave it anyway. He said, "We were all young and stupid once. What matters is that you tried to make it right." His grace humbled me. It healed me in ways I didn't expect. As for Daniel, he passed away years ago, never apologized, never took responsibility. And maybe that's why I held onto the secret for so long, because part of me didn't want to be the only one carrying the blame. But in the end, releasing the truth was the closure I needed, not from him, but from myself. So that's the story. That's what I hid for years, and now you know the whole truth. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's that secrets don't protect people, they imprison them. They trap generations in misunderstanding and pain. And sometimes, the only way to truly free yourself is to face the truth, no matter how old it is or how much it hurts. If you were on my side through this story, like this video, if you think I made the right decision by finally telling the truth, subscribe for more stories like this. And please, share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have carried this secret, or would you have exposed it sooner? I'm genuinely curious how others see this. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.